Welcome everybody to an episode of Sister Talks on Granny's Front Porch. It's been a while for us. I'm Emily.
I'm Jennifer.
And Krista.
And I'm Krista.
And in honor of Mother's Day coming up, I thought that we should have a sisters talk and just kind of talk about some of our maternal ancestors, and of course mention a little bit about our mom. And are you clapping?
I'm trying to say hello because my picture's
Oh,
not
look
working.
at that. Excuse me, guys. I didn't know. Jennifer's not able to join us, but she's making herself known there.
I mean,
But-
she's with us, but she's in Hawaii and having camera problems, so we only have her by voice, not by camera.
Yeah,
I'm here. I'm totally here though, and hopefully Emily can find a
Yes.
picture of me that's
Yeah.
not too unflattering to pop up there.
Well, we were going to do a quick little talk about Mother's Day coming up, and that and we're just going to get into a few little subjects about, how our parents, the maternal, mainly our mother, and maybe what we grew up in, how they shaped our lives, or our outlook on spirituality and all that fun stuff.
And y'all know we go all over the place. We don't stick to the topic or the script. So you're gonna say this is not a Mother's Day special, but it's
Right.
it's all of Nelda's daughters
That's
talk. So
that's
we're
true. This is how,
pieces of her coming together.
yes. So y'all know right now, I mean, I don't have a picture of Mama or anything. I got the granny background, but since I've moved my desk, Mama's not in the picture anymore. That's why I was having a bad
Oh,
video today.
You have to
Yes,
get one for her in the
I
new
just need to put her
office.
on my computer screen. That'll be fine.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
You
I
know,
will
put her
tell
on.
you that since I'll share with everybody that I've had
Yes.
a kidney infection, and I think I passed a kidney stone a couple weeks ago. It did make me think about it when I was in the urgent care this weekend, and they were like, well, what they want to know if both my parents were still living and what they passed from. And I was like, oh, my mom died from kidney cancer. And here I am having a kidney issue.
Oh,
And even Val and I had thought about it since it's been ongoing for a while. I was like, oh man, this is kind of like a wake-up call for me, I think, as far as just thinking about my health and do I want to live, how many more years do I want to be here? I'm 50, almost 53. I think after we pass 50, we were all just thrilled when we passed 39, which was the age she died.
right.
But I think once you pass 50, you start maybe noticing a thing or two here or there, and I feel like I'm being given a choice. I'm being given a choice of, do you want to live a longer life? If so, you better start thinking more about what you're putting into your body and how your stress level and everything. So it is something I've been thinking about.
When I was I'm gonna circle back, you had mentioned Mom, and I realized that I haven't really spotlighted her. We haven't really talked about her very much, and it may not be this even a time to share her story, because I think it's going to be a little more in depth when I get to that point of wanting to share Mom's story. But Mother's Day being this weekend, I don't really recall if we really celebrated it that much when Mom was alive. Do y'all remember? I mean, I know it was kind of, but I thought of
I
it.
was thinking about that today, and I was trying to remember, did we even text or call Granny on Mother's Day?
But I felt it more after.
Granny,
After Mom's death, I felt more I think I sent things to Granny for Mother's Day.
Well, see,
Yeah,
what
me
I'm
too.
trying to remember is, did we celebrate Mother's Day in the church? Because Royal Church of God we grew up in, we did. There were so many holidays we didn't celebrate. I mean, I feel like we did acknowledge her on Mother's Day, but I don't remember us necessarily getting her gifts or celebrating it.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel too. Yeah. I don't really, I almost have a blank about it.
Yeah, but I know that once I became an adult and after Mom died, I mean, I sent Granny Mother's Day
Yeah.
cards every year and probably
Yeah.
called her
Yeah.
and so and I feel like in one way you could think, oh well, that's sad. You don't really remember doing much for your mom, Krista, but you did it for Granny. But actually, I feel like what we were doing was we were filling that void for Mother to celebrate her mother on Mother's Day, because she
Yeah.
probably did not do very much for Granny on Mother's Day. For two reasons. Number one, we didn't celebrate a lot of the secular or religious holidays because of the Royal Church of God, but also because money was tight. So I don't know.
We're always in crisis.
We were always in crisis. So
Yeah.
you know what? I kind of feel like that we did that for our mother. We did that for her. We stepped in and made Granny feel special on Mother's Day. I mean, I'm pretty sure I either called Granny or I visited Granny or I sent her a card almost every Mother's Day.
Yeah, and I think we all became more aware of Mother's Day after she died. Between the three of us,
Yeah,
we
the
would
lo-
always
Yeah.
we'd always think
Mhm.
about her more on June the 3rd, which was the day she died. Which is
Right.
not too far away from Mother's Day. But
Mhm.
I appreciate that we all. I mean, even us doing this now, I was like, yeah, we should remember her.
Yes. 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 But yeah, I agree. The lack of a mother alive does make Mother's Day more significant in my life.
I mean, do you guys ever like just daydream about like what would life have been like had she not died?
I used to,
Yeah.
not so much now, but in my early adulthood, I did. I would have dreams where, I had, and we'll put a pin in this because this might be a different podcast or it might be something later on this one, but because I've had several mother dreams that were significant after she died that I felt like were more than a dream. But over the years, and not so much recently, but over the years, I would have dreams where Mama was in the dream. She was like a character, not necessarily the main character. And I would be like, oh, but you're supposed to be Dad. And
Oh
she'd be
yeah.
like, but then she came back to life and she was like alive or some of the dreams, she's like, yeah, I'm still dead, but I'm just here right now. Or in the dream, it would be, oh no, I'm not really dead. And I'd wake up and I'd be disappointed.
Emily, have you had any dreams about her?
Yeah, but usually it's something where she's mom and daddy, she's a character in the story, but not the main character.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
That is funny, Emily, because like I've had very, very few dreams about her, very few. But I had, when she has been there, she's kind of just like in the background, like you're saying. It's not like now when she first died, I had one nightmare early on that I talked to a therapist about, and they said it was because of her seizures that I saw. The first dream I had about her, it was not a good one. I dreamed she was laying on the table and she got up, started chasing me around the room as a corpse. And in the dream I thought, that's my mama, but that's not my mama.
Yeah.
right? And I had already spoken to the therapist about watching her have those seizures. And, the therapist was like, oh, that's probably you when you saw your mom being taken over by the disease. And you couldn't do anything. But then another dream I had, the last one I had that was really personal, was soon after that, I dreamed she was in that back bedroom in Granny's house, in the pink bedroom. And she was sitting up in the bed. Like, she was sick, but she was sitting up in the bed, and I went to talk to her, and we were talking, and it's like I knew she was dead or whatever. And she said, she reached out, she put her hand on mine, and I was telling her about my life, and I was telling her about, going to college and all this stuff, and even about how I moved away from the church and everything. And she reached out and put her hand on mine, and she said, I just want you to be happy,
Oh,
you know? And that was the last personal dream I had about her.
oh, that's, oh.
But I haven't had any since I've been older that's been personal like that. Have you, Krista?
Not that I'm recalling, not that,
I know, I'm sitting here.
I mean, I probably have had dreams in the past 10 years where she's a minor character,
Yeah.
but, Emily, were you going to say something else a minute ago, or do you want me to talk about my initial dream, that dream I had?
Oh, no, you talk about your dream. No, I was just gonna say, this gets off the topic of dreams, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but I'll just say it real quick.
Yeah, I don't forget it.
Yeah, you remember your dream. Know that, when I think of a loss and having lost our mom, I guess I'm just kind of used to it. I just kind of have to numb
Yeah.
myself off from that. But when I watch a show and I see that a parent has died, I feel so sorry for those people. Like, oh,
know.
that's sad.
Yeah, then you're wait a minute, that happened to me.
Do that to myself, I'm like,
No, I've had the same experience.
So, a very significant dream I had, and I don't remember exactly how long it was after she died, but it was within the first few months, I think. I had a very special dream. It was one of those dreams that I'm not convinced it was a dream now. I mean, it felt like it was real, whatever that means. But before mom got very ill, how old was I? 20, 21?
Well,
I
I
don't
was
know.
almost 20 when was almost 21. So you must have been already 21.
21,
almost
okay.
22. You actually had probably just turned 22.
Okay, yes. So, I left home, was trying to live my own life and not necessarily, living the life that my parents thought I should be living, which, I mean, I wouldn't do anything wrong or bad. It just wasn't what they had in mind for me. And, so there was some tension between me and mom before she got sick, but when she was the past few months of her life, we kind of, put that aside but I was not at home. I had left home. But I was living in the Jackson area. And then Emily, you and mom and daddy and Brady moved up to the Jackson area because she was receiving treatment at UMC up here in Jackson. So, but I wasn't living with y'all. And so there was some, little bit of guilt. I mean, I did spend some time with her, but you were her primary care person, not me. I had gotten a job. I mean, I was working full time, trying to get into college. And so I was visiting her a couple of times a week, but I was not her primary caregiver. And so when she did die, I did have some guilt. I had some guilt about some disagreements her and I had. Some guilt about her whatever angst I felt against her. I had guilt that I didn't. I mean, it was very hard for me to to go step forward in my own life and not be pulled back into the family dynamic. And I felt guilt that maybe I should have. You know, the survivor guilt. There's always that survivor guilt about, oh, I should have done this, or oh, I could have done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I was experiencing that a little bit. I mean, when mom died, we put our stuff aside and we were okay, but I had guilt about it. And I had this wonderful dream that felt so real. I had walked into a Burger King up here in Jackson. It was a Burger King that I ate lunch at pretty often.
I think I
And in
know
this
which
dream,
one.
yeah, I walked in and mom was sitting at a table in pajamas. And I can't remember if I ordered food or not, but I went down and sat with the table with her. And I was like, what are you doing here? And she's like, you know, I just wanted you to know that everything's okay. Like,
Oh,
we're okay. You don't have to. It was similar to what your thing where mom says she just wants you to be happy. I don't
Yeah.
recall that she necessarily said those exact words to me in the dream, but she just wanted me to know that everything was okay. But like
yeah.
that we were okay. My relationship with her, that I didn't need to be upset. I didn't need to. And, you know, the way I interpreted that then, and it still could be the case. I mean, it could have just been my subconscious playing through these things, dealing with my grief, dealing with my guilt, dealing with some even resentments I had toward her, dad, myself, my siblings, you know, life. It, you know, could have just been my subconscious helping me sort those feelings and process them. The other thing I also felt like it could be because at that time I was kind of not, I had quit going to church and I was kind of calling myself an atheist. It was really more of an agnostic, but you know, I just needed some time to figure out for myself what I believed, or actually
Yeah.
I need some time just not to believe anything. I needed a break. I
Yeah.
needed a break from following rules and dogma. And I just needed to figure out life for myself a little bit. So but anyway, so I really felt like that was God or an angel giving me this dream to comfort me.
Yeah.
So that was the second thing I thought, but you know, later I began to accept the fact that I think that was mom's spirit or soul. Like that was mom's essence.
Yeah.
So whichever one of those, or there's probably other things it could have been, but either of those three scenarios of what the dream was, it was more than just a dream. It was significant. And it could have been all three of those possibilities of what that dream really was is probably the truth. But that's one of those dreams. I mean, I can just sit here talking about it. I can remember what I felt like in the dream. And when I woke up, it didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. It felt like that really happened.
Yeah.
When I think of that dream, it feels as real as any memory I have of mom when she was alive.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Emily,
Um,
I was thinking you haven't had a dream like that, have you? But you
yeah.
probably spent more time with her,
Yeah.
and you probably got to have those conversations that Krista and I didn't have
Exactly. The
while she was still
conversation.
alive.
Yeah. Well, her biggest thing I would hear her say is she just always was hoping that that I would find my purpose or my place. She was kind of
Oh, really?
real concerned about me just kind of being la 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 la. And like, just kind of well, she probably felt a little because I had kind of given up quit going to school and I focused on taking care of her. So me finding my path to independence, it got interrupted,
Yeah.
take care of her. So that's probably why, those kind of things, like I would hear her say, I just want to make sure. And I think that's another reason why some of the beautiful women, her friends came and stepped into that role of maternal and really helped me because, I feel,
Yeah.
but the thing that I think is just funny though is she always wondered or worried about me finding purpose. But seriously, I've never not felt I had a purpose. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That that I'm turning out to kind of not surprise her, but not surprise her
Uh-huh. You might end up being the most vocal of us all.
with it. Well, I believe that I think I probably am. I probably will be. But
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. But see, in it, where mom was in her life at that time, though, she for sure loved us and she was sincere.
Yeah.
But she had a certain standard or prescribed, can't think of the right word, but prescribed ideal of how life should be lived and how people should not only live their life, but her idea of what a purpose or goal should be
Well,
was in a nice little box.
yeah.
I
think she
mean, what
was-
I loved about Granny is Granny, by the time we were close to Granny, purpose or job or goal or career, that wasn't what was important. What Granny taught us is you don't even purpose, you just love people, you just live in love. That's
Yeah.
purpose. That's purpose enough.
Yeah.
So
It's funny because, when we do think about the chain of events, and I'm not saying that things happen for a reason, I'm just meditating on what did happen. I probably, and maybe all of us, developed a relationship with Granny that we maybe wouldn't otherwise have developed.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I spent time and connected with her in an attempt to bridge a gap, to cover a loss. And I think that we were that for Granny too. We were her way of being with Mom.
Right.
okay, so what just occurred to me? I've never thought of it this way. But Mama leaving, her losing Mom brought something to Granny that she wouldn't have had.
I know.
When she lost Mom, she actually gained 3 new daughters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And not only did she gain us, that where we looked to her as our mother figure, and she looked to us to do
As her
those things that
daughters.
the grown daughter would do. Many, kind of like what you said, Emily, about when Mom died, a lot of her friends stepped in and filled those roles
Yeah.
for us, but mainly you because you were still at home.
Yeah.
A lot of younger women stepped up and filled that role for Granny. How many of our aunts and second,
Well, I
third
don't-
cousins, her nieces who would step in and do those things,
Well, y'all know how, and I don't want to mention because I don't want to mention people's names, but you can probably figure out a particular great grandniece of hers or great niece of hers that was in her life and drive her to church.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I haven't shared this with y'all, I don't think, but I am just getting such strong impressions about me going to Pisco and me I I almost hear Granny saying, now you two need to be there for each other.
Oh.
Like she's telling me to be there for her, and then also that she could be an older
Mm.
model
yeah.
for me. That's something that's been I mean, I'm kind of going through, I was telling him, kind of going through a rebirth of my connection to Christianity, but it's kind of like coming full circle for me. So I'm kind of seeing, like, I don't know that I know that that's Granny necessarily talking to me, but I do know that it's what she would have said to me.
But you know, another thing, we did have through Granny, such good example, a healthy example, I think, of so much love there in her faith and how she believed and worshiped, that that is, she modeled a relationship with God or whatever. So it's comforting to me too, when I always fall back into that, because it's comfort, because it's also the heritage that we got from our granny,
Yeah.
like, the going back now, if there was a lot of trauma based around that church, I can understand, like, if you said you want to go back to the Worldwide Church of God, that'd be a little.
No, I know. I'm
No,
actually,
no,
I'm in
no,
a,
I'm saying that, it
no,
makes a lot of
I
sense.
am actually finding myself kind of in the same space Granny was in, because
Yeah.
I'm also not feeling super judgy about what other people do.
Yes,
Because I don't think it matters what other people do. I mean, she never judged people.
I love
She
that
just
about Granny.
she
Yeah,
just did what was right in her heart.
yeah, you do what you do, baby. I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't know either, to be honest. I don't know. I have no clue. I can't explain why, I've had certain experiences that I've had. But I do remember that Granny talking about how she saw the angel standing at the bottom of her bed that time. And, she was super Christian lady.
Oh, and but also when we would talk to her about, she lived in that old home place in Manifest for a long time, and there was like a good 5 years
She was
before
born there.
yeah, it might not at that exact house, but on that same spot.
Yeah.
The you know, before she finally did leave and go live with, one of her sons, and eventually in a nursing home. When I would ask her, "Aren't you lonely out here? Don't you want
Yeah.
to, are you okay?" She would say, "Oh, I'm not alone. My mom and daddy are here." I mean,
Mhm.
y'all remember her saying that?
Well,
That they
no,
were
well,
with her.
the way she said it to me is she didn't say they were there actually, but she just said, I just feel like they're here. That's how she
Yes,
would say it. Because,
yes.
she was careful how she said things. I think Granny probably had experiences, but she was very careful how she worded it.
Well, I mean, because once you label something, it gets stuck with that label. And
She didn't want
so
to be she didn't want to be a lead somebody down a path they weren't ready for, or you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And probably in her generation too, those things had certain connotations that she wasn't comfortable using, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I always felt like she was open to whatever anybody had to say. She would not like shut people down and be like, well, you're wrong, you know. And she would just, and that's where I have to be super careful too, as I process through the cycles of spirituality. It's like, okay, yes, but let's remember that's the number one thing I take away from her.
Mhm.
Not to judge others.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you do, don't judge others.
Or
Yeah.
judge yourself, or judge, not just judge others, but we don't have to judge what truth is. We don't have to judge what's right or what's wrong.
Or
Um,
and just because you like, she was not confused about her connection to God. She was very confident in it. And she was even careful when I would ask her questions about it. She didn't try to tell me how. All she would say is, like Emily said, read your Bible.
mhm.
Yeah. And I was gonna say though, well, her and the death of mom and the church we were brought up in and how um things were set up in such a way. I mean, we can do this in any walk, any spiritual, any kind of, name it and claim it, prayer, speak it into, like the secret, any of these ways. You can have a 1 + 1 = 2, like you don't say anything because your words have power and all that kind of stuff. I was gonna say that we were brought up, praying. Like we prayed when mom got sick. And when she did not survive, the what is it saying? Your castle was built on sand, and it just everything in our church, the anointings, the everything, the praying that she would be healed and saved, everything that we put, oh, if I do this and do this, and if I act right, and if I save myself for marriage, or it's like all these things that you do, you still cannot control an outcome.
Yeah.
And
That's
that was
exactly
the
right.
biggest lesson that I learned after mom passed away.
Well,
And of course,
I
Granny
was
lived that too,
well, I was thinking about that. Just think about the life she lived and the impression she gave people. But she also suffered a lot of things. You know, so just because she lived a good Christian life does not mean that she didn't suffer.
Right,
And I don't think anybody gets away from suffering in this life.
right. Yeah, right. We
No
can
matter what your spiritual path is, you cannot
exactly.
expect any of the, I mean, God never says, and I don't know of any spiritual practice that ever says that you will not have challenges and that you will not have suffer.
So
It's
that,
how you deal with it.
yeah. So yeah, that did teach. I think that taught me at a very early age, just not to that
Well, what she did was she was able to take those knocks that came in life and kind of move through them without becoming bitter.
yes. Or maybe if she was bitter, we didn't know it. The time
She may have been, maybe we
she'd
didn't
already
see it.
moved past it.
By the time we experienced her, she had dealt with it. Or
Well-
she had enough responsibility not to show it to us.
Well, my personal bitter years were in my 40s. So once I hit 50, I'm no longer bitter. I'm just like, oh,
Well,
shit.
I do feel like there was bitterness, more disappointment than
Yeah.
maybe bitterness. And I do think that manifested in with depression. I didn't realize it then, but I see now. I do think mom suffered from depression, and it was
Oh,
not
our mother,
something
yes.
you.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about Granny. I don't think Mama dealt with
Oh, y'all
stuff.
talking about Granny? I was
Yeah,
talking.
yeah.
Oh,
No, we were talking about Granny, not Mama.
No, Mama didn't deal very
Right.
well.
y'all talking about Granny.
No,
Yeah.
Granny.
Okay, but Granny also, I don't know if it was depression, but no, she's
She had a nervous
Suffered-
breakdown.
before we were born.
Right,
Yeah.
right, in her earlier years.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking Mama. I thought the conversation got off to Mama.
Okay.
No, we got to. I like to think that if Mom had survived, she would be in her 70s now, right? And
I think so.
so.
yeah, she would have been.
Yeah,
She'd be
early
in her
70s.
70s. Yeah.
Of course,
So
I can't believe that she was only 39 when she died, because I feel like,
Still young, right?
yeah, no, I mean, I felt like she was kind of old. I mean, because I don't feel 50.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I still don't ever feel as old as Mama was. I mean, sometimes I do. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'd like to think
So-
if she'd made it over the hump, that she would be at that phase Granny. She would be at that phase that Granny was at when we were adults with Granny.
One thing that I have thought about too, girls, and it's not a good thing, but I just thought, the older we get, it's going to come a time when one of us is going to experience a loss, and one of us might go, or one of our husbands might go, because our husbands are all older than us,
Yeah.
or something. I'm just like, I don't know. Have you guys started to think about that sort of stuff
Yeah.
as you've gotten into your 50s?
I've been thinking about
I
losing
never-
one of the sisters. Yes.
Yeah, I have too. I don't know why I've been
Yeah.
thinking about that, and I hope it's not me, but I hope it's not one of y'all
Oh.
either.
I know.
Oh no, I haven't really thought about the sisters. I mean, my husband's 10 years older than me, so I've always like
Oh, yeah.
had that little worry about him.
Well, it's kind of like a given of like, they're older, they're real. As long as I have my sisters, but it's gonna be scary with
If one of us dies. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Yeah, because
scary,
I've
but yeah,
Because I've been thinking that we were all gonna be the Golden Girls, and when we're in our 80s and 90s, we'll all be living together or something. So
Exactly.
y'all my retirement plan. So y'all need to
Same. This is why
know.
I want to kind of like come back to myself. There's this other thing that I'm going through is the what ifs we had never left Jonesville scenario.
when you
Because
were little, you mean?
yeah, like what if we never got homeless when I was 10 years old and got kicked out of that house? What if we had stayed? I actually feel like there's a part of me that never left. Like there's another lifetime where I didn't leave, and that's where I'm kind of merging with that one. I keep thinking, because in one way it doesn't make any sense for me to be there, but every time I go away, I just got to go back. It's like I cannot.
Or what
Not-
or what if they never joined the church and Dad was still working for Cola on Saturdays?
I thought about all of that. What if Papa Bill would have just done what the Masons wanted to do?
Oh, yeah.
You
Oh.
know, I mean, I think about all of it, but I also am just feeling like, let's say things went wrong, okay? somewhere that wasn't in your life plan, but something went off that changed your life plan that wasn't you, like your parents joining a cult, you know, or your mama dying of cancer, or your grandfather dying of a heart attack prematurely, that set everybody's life on a certain course.
That's true. with
It's
mine.
possible that there's a healing possibility where you can kind of recapture what's been lost by ending up where you would have ended up. Does that make sense?
I- Yeah.
Like other people might get in
Could be
there
all
and
the. Well, it could be that all these events and things that take place in our life aren't even really it's just a part of the game.
yeah, because maybe you'll end up where you're supposed to be anyway.
Well,
Mhm.
well, I'm going to use an analogy from the Bible because that's my favorite thing to do. But it's kind of like, well, I feel this in my life is the getting to the promised land and
Oh, yeah.
always having to go back into captivity. Or conquer something. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about is getting back to where that home that where I mean, I feel a pull to keep coming back to Jackson, and I'm like, why would I want to be in Jackson? That same pull you have to come back here, Jennifer.
Yeah.
And I had that pull, and part of it too was a lot of things happened in Jackson. A lot of coming of age things, and with mom's death and something. There was a reason that I was there.
Yeah.
Or I had spiritual awakenings, and I really don't. There's not a particular place, but there's there's not an actual place. But I know exactly what you're saying.
Well, I've been really looking into, not on purpose, but you know how sometimes something comes in your mind and then so you think it and then you start seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
And that could be God showing you, or it could also be just you seeing it. It's always been there. You just couldn't see it because now that you're thinking about it. But the idea of generational curses and generational blessings, because I think that there are things we definitely inherit that are negative from our ancestors, but I think there's also things we inherit that are gifts from our ancestors.
Yeah.
So I kind of looked at some of that deliverance ministry stuff, Emily, you were talking about.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
it's a little bit creepy for me. I think that's a little bit going too far for me.
Yeah. No, it was creepy. That's why that was my post-traumatic stress disorder.
I think that if you have a relationship with God, I'm gonna use a word that's gonna make y'all twinge, but if you have a relationship with Jesus, you don't. Everything can be healed. You don't have to carry the weight of your parents' sins, right?
Right.
But I
I
do
agree with
think that certain impacts can be passed down, whether they're negative or positive.
But it's just circumstances and consequences. I mean, it's just physical
Yeah.
too of
Well, you're
yeah.
starting life at a disadvantage sometimes, or you're starting life advantaged,
Well,
come
yeah,
from
I
a-
think about how Papa Bill, because I feel such a connection to him, how his death impacted, Mama, Granny, our uncles,
yes.
the town of Jonesville. And I think about there's that, but then there's also the heritage that we have through the rights. of people
Around our-
living for. Huh?
Wasn't he around our age when he died?
Let's
I'm
see.
53.
Who, Papa
Trying
Bill?
to- Yeah,
Yeah.
he was, yeah, I've already made that connection, Krista. He was about your age and about the age I'm going to be when I come back this summer.
Yeah.
Is about when he died.
Mhm.
Imagine having a 3-year-old right now. Oh,
What?
I said, imagine
mama would
having a
too.
2 or 3-year-old right now
Yeah.
to be responsible for. Oh, no,
But then
go on.
leaving. Oh, I was just, no, it's okay.
Oh, but
Well, our
Um,
mothers, we're talking about mothers, but they pass on to us lessons, if we want to call the negative parts the lessons. And then they also pass on great examples.
yes, yes.
What do y'all think? I'm just curious about this concept of, and I know we kind of all have different spiritual views, and that's good. But what do you think about the concept of healing things for your parents? Because I'm kind of on the fence about it.
I think we inherit things like just bad habits of just seeing, just like examples that were set for us. Or, there may be a chemical imbalance proclivity, alcoholism or whatever. But I feel that, well, if I go the Christian way, once once the Christ thing has happened,
Yeah.
baptism, that that I'm not responsible for my parents.
Yeah. So do you feel like that deliverance ministry stuff was a little bit a side path that wasn't helpful?
I believe correct. No, I believe you need to recognize that there's a reason why, recognize that that you may need counseling if
Yeah.
your family coming from a dysfunctional family. I believe that healing can be, that there is healing that with anything. Let's just say it doesn't even have to be in the Christian aspect of it, but if you recognize that every person, you may have bipolar people or bipolar in your family, then hopefully with some enlightenment you realize, ooh, I need to get treatment.
Yeah.
If there is a pill that can help me control this chemical imbalance, then I believe having enlightenment or accepting Christ or in a meditation program or whatever, seeking guidance from an ascended master would enlighten you to know that there is other treatment options. It may not be something you get from, a doctor. But do you understand what I'm saying? I think
Yeah.
we all can ascend or have enlightenment or, have Christ in our life, or that it may not be a curse, but we all have baggage.
Yeah, for sure.
And we all sometimes have to deal with that baggage and recognize the baggage and then take steps to heal. What's yours?
I feel like that, and my view on it has tweaked a little bit pretty recently. That really all we have to focus on is healing ourselves.
Yeah,
And through healing ourselves could have the ripple effect of healing, but so I don't want, so there are practices. Okay, so let me rephrase that. That's my truth and my reality from my purpose and my journey in this life. I do understand and even respect and maybe even see the validity in different practices or faiths or that have that, like shamanism or whatever, that have that thing of healing the ancestors, and you go back and you go to the underworld, all those things. Like, I'm not saying they're not right or that they're wrong. Like, there's value in that
yeah,
belief system for those who practice that belief system.
yeah,
Right.
But where I think my role or my purpose is to heal myself
yes,
and do my inner work and clean up my shit. The best way
yes.
I can clean up somebody
Amen,
else's shit
sister.
is clean
Hallelujah.
up my shit.
I think we all agree on that. I mean, whatever
Yeah.
perspective you look at it, I think there's a lot of disagreement even in Christianity about whether, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate where that's concerned. I think we have purists.
Say, I might offend somebody, but it's really convenient to have the excuse of I'm cursed, or there's
I
a curse,
know.
or I'm
Yes.
suffering because of the consequences of my ancestors, which
Yes.
could very well be true. Like Emily said earlier, I'd be like, if you suffered or lived through consequences of actions from an ancestor, whether it was your parents or many generations back, that's true. That happens. Yes. But to use that as an excuse or a reason of why you're stuck and or why you can't clean up your own shit. I don't
It's
know.
so funny because I've been listening to stuff about spiritual warfare, and we know that goes on, but I've been listening to it from a Christian perspective, and I really think a lot of Christian people don't want to acknowledge. I mean, our church did, but they kind of took it to a weird place. They went overboard with the demon stuff, which didn't make me feel safe. And they didn't focus on the message of being protected, on how to protect yourself. But here's the thing, even one discussion I heard lately, they were like, so many people say the devil made me do it. What about your responsibility?
I think this just distraction to do things. Woo woo, scary, scary, scary. Let's talk about, well, if you're talking about having a cursed life, I believe that a child that was born in their mother might have been a sex slave, and a child has to grow up under a bed of a brothel.
Yeah,
They're disadvantaged. To me, any God can I believe, in my personal belief, God can redeem situations, but that person's going to need some kind of counseling. I mean, I'm just saying that this is just normal. Just normal counseling could just be talking to somebody, just telling them that what you grew up in is not normal, or it's not what everybody else grows up in.
well, and
Hope-
also
Hope
I
is the most important
and
thing.
even if, like, I was listening to, I don't know if that Freemason video I sent y'all, but
Mhm,
where they want you to repent for what your grandfather did. Look,
right.
I don't think that I can do that. I don't think it's my place to, but I will say this, I can I can look, I could have knowledge, I can gain knowledge about what happened in my past that may have led me to where I am. I mean, certainly his death uh caused my mother to grow up a certain way, and caused her to have certain kinds of anxiety, which was passed on to us. So what is helpful for me to understand is how these things affected me and how these things affected my family, so that I can know what kind of healing I need.
Right, right.
You know, because if you can't ever see what made something happen, like daddy being abused and him, you know, being the kind of person he was when you know, when he was unhealed, that, you know, it just explain, it doesn't excuse things, but it might give you some information on how you can heal yourself.
And well, when people are going through healing, there's also resentment and anger of like, why? I mean, some other people believe, you know, that you choose the life you come back into, and that's personally not my belief. But you know, people who believe in reincarnation or whatever, that you're reworking things. But yeah, I know I kind of get deep on the I'm at a stage in my life where I am still healing some of the things that, you know, from my childhood, but I'm also looking now more about, gosh, I was damn blessed because I did not grow up being abused and my relatives were not abused. And oh my God, I saw love,
Yeah.
had love. And the calling I feel on my life is to show others that love, and that we can get mixed up in the curses, but just to show hope and love. And because that child who grows up underneath a bed being abused, you know, talk about Mother's Day. I mean, I'm not trying to get all sappy, but you know, you don't want them to continue to think that that's normal.
So I want to,
Go on,
I want
Kristen.
to just something that I said, because
Yeah,
so you know, I think a lot of us are very empathetic and we can feel people's feelings. So just because we haven't experienced something doesn't mean we can't feel the pain of others, or feel the suffering, even if we don't live the suffering ourselves.
Yeah.
But there are things that we haven't had to experience in this lifetime tangibly, physically. So even though I just expressed what my opinion is about generational curses, or feeling that you're stuck because of what you were born into, that's where I am. But that's not that's not everybody's reality. And if for some people, the only way they can heal themselves and do their inner work is through the need to make an effort to heal something from the past. I mean, that may be the way they heal themselves. So I don't want to get stuck in labeling that this is necessary, this isn't necessary. It's not necessary for me, but that doesn't mean it's not necessary for somebody else. I just recently have realized that it's okay that I don't try to right the wrongs of my parents or others before me. I don't feel the obligation to right the wrongs.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that someone else doesn't feel that.
oh,
Well, I'm also at a point too, Krista, where it's kind of like what you're saying, is that it's all learning. Like, let's say I felt some way 10 years ago, or let's say 15 years ago, I had strong feelings about thus and such in the spirituality. And then 10 years ago, I went this direction and I got really deep into that. And then now here I am kind of coming full circle. But what if you don't go into those things, you never know. You know what I'm saying? Like the way we were raised.
And what does it even matter which thing you're in?
Well, what I'm trying to say is it's all growing. It's all like, it's all, in my personal opinion, God sees it all as necessary to your growth.
What
So-
if I'm just gonna throw this out there because it just occurred to me. What if our perception of how we feel about healing generational curses have changed recently because those curses have been healed?
Oh, I like that.
It's possible,
Maybe,
because I know
I'm
I've
not
been
saying, I'm not
I've
saying
been
I'll-
praying. Maybe we all been praying. Have we all been secretly praying about that?
I
Oh,
don't know that I've been consciously praying it, but I've been living
I,
my life to do that.
And you probably already did that back in Nashville, right, Emily?
yeah, I was gonna say I've already done it.
Emily's ahead of us as usual.
I just don't tell y'all what I've already done. So,
Go ahead and tell us.
well,
I'd
I
like to
mean,
know.
no, there was a huge change happen in my understandings. And it might have been a huge change just because I was healing myself. You know,
But all these things are spiral too. Like Jennifer, like you said, you come back around.
Yeah.
um,
I'm never gonna say I know the answer or I know what
my, yeah, there's just so right now, yeah, I don't know the answer, but I agree that I know what works for me. Something else might work for you. You know, I just think,
I think about how Granny used to say she didn't ever try to tell nobody
right,
what they should do. She just shared what she did.
exactly. And that's how I want to, yeah, that's how,
I try
That
to
is-
tell myself that too.
that's
Just
how I
like
want to live my life
Never,
too.
she didn't want to assume to tell anybody. And oh my God, a lot of the stuff I was into when I was close to her, I don't know why she didn't say more to me. I cannot believe she kept her mouth shut when I think about the things I was doing when I was around her. You know, I was like, but she just didn't. I mean, the only thing she did say to me is she was afraid that I would be driving around on those roads and a motorcycle gang would get me. That's what she used to say. But she just main thing was setting the example. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm like, it's a lot harder to set an example than to preach to somebody, right? It's easy to preach,
right.
much harder to live it.
But I've also been with people I have met lately. I do find that people who come from different backgrounds, that they have those wise women in their life as
Yeah.
well, who had different religious traditions than what we were brought up in, but it was the same love and wisdom that came through that Granny had.
Did y'all hear the podcast that I sent about I don't know if you had time to listen to it, that guy that lives up in Amwell? And he was talking.
Oh, I didn't listen to it yet.
G.W. Wright, he was reading from a ledger. It was an old Baptist church that was up in the hills before they moved down to Manifest, I think.
Oh, that was probably, yeah, that
George
was,
Washington Wright, I think that was our
yeah,
great grandfather. And y'all, he was one of the I don't know what you call him, but he was in the church, and when people would do things, he would be on part of the committee to intervene, what they called laboring. Okay, so he was reading from this ledger and say G.W. Wright labored with sister so-and-so for dancing. G.W. Wright labored with so-and-so for going to for having a drink. Or I mean, y'all should listen to it. And it's not right away. You have to get a little far down into the podcast. They keep mentioning all these people, and they keep mentioning G.W. Wright laboring with people.
Well,
Now,
he's
I
in
don't
the
know what
book.
that means.
He's in the books, you know, at the Pisgah Baptist Church.
Will
So
people be put out of church for dancing?
he's dealing with it. Yeah.
I was like, wow, that is actually not the impression I got from Pisgah. I never got a feeling, and I know he was one of the founders of that church, right? I never got the feeling of, I don't know, maybe dancing was a big sin back in then. But in my generation, I never heard Granny say anything about not dancing. I don't know.
Oh, but that was big Southern Baptist. You don't drink, you don't dance.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's changed a lot.
Of course, I was up in, you know.
I know Granny said that Daisy told on them for going for swimming in the swimming hole one time.
Yeah. Well, well, our mama did dance, so well, you know, she broke the rules. Obviously, Krista was born. But yeah, I was gonna say with I think in any of these, losing mom and learning that, you know, a lot of people say obedience, like this is in any walk of life. You know, like someone who's a health guru who does everything right and still dies an early death. You know,
Oh, yeah.
that there's nothing that we think we're in control, but there's really nothing. I mean, we do have some responsibility, okay, but keeping the 10 commandments or following these 10 rules does not guarantee shit.
That's right.
But they can help make life better and maybe easier, but it still does not guarantee you anything.
I think nothing is guaranteed.
And even if I did get dunked, you know, and accepted Jesus Christ as my personal savior, I'm not dead yet, and I really don't know for sure yet if I got into heaven, you know. Who knows? You know.
Well, and the thing about it is, you know, that what if you end up where whatever you live your life as? And I don't mean that like I'm like heaven or hell. I mean, you know, what you believe is what you end up doing.
And
Well,
I
people who, yeah, this may sound off topic, but if you hear any stories from people who had near-death experiences,
Mhm.
And you know, the argument could be it's all a hallucination or something, but a lot of them did experience things that lined up with their own belief system. And there are people all over the world from different belief systems who have had near-death experiences. So what if it's all true? What if
Okay.
it's just, if we're consciousness, like if we're just consciousness, that's what if we're just a hologram and we're all just making all we're creating the reality that we're in.
Yeah, but you can only kind of, I think, choose what you're going to do in this life
Right,
right now.
right.
I mean, and kind of a good way to
But-
tell for me is it's like if you feel peace, you know, and
But
and
here's the
I
thing.
I do think about scripture that says that, you know, I'm not the author of confusion. So sometimes something that's real negative may not be something scary. It may just be some kind of energy around you where it's just chaotic. That's not something you want to be around, you know. I'm sorry, did you say something, Krista?
You know, sometimes I do feel like a hypocrite of just, okay, I'm sitting around philosophizing, but because these are the things that go around in my head
Yeah,
24/7. I mean,
me too.
but I can sit around and philosophize and say, oh, I think it's this, or I think it's that, or this is what life is, or this is what, but you know, a lot of times we say fear is at the root of so many things that are not positive feeling, but it's all about suffering, humans trying to not suffer. And there's a lot of people in the past and present day who suffer, and that suffering is not necessarily from something as a consequence that they've done.
Yeah.
And so that's why I can see it's easy to want to blame, or blame is a harsh word too. We want to look for a reason. Why is there suffering? And that's what the whole Buddhist tradition too was the Buddha walked out from his nice protective palace he grew up in the best home, full of love and nurturing, and all his needs were met, and saw suffering everywhere. And the suffering that he saw was so overwhelming that he abandoned that perfect, comfortable life that he had in order to search and find a way to end suffering. And it's not just the act or the experience of suffering, it's that we have an attachment to that suffering.
And then also, the suffering of Jesus on the cross. I mean, that's another thing. What is this deal
Because in
with
that
suffering?
tradition, he went to the cross to bear the suffering of the whole world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's you're right. I think being in a physical body is, you can't avoid. I don't know anybody, and if there's somebody out there that maybe I'll meet them, but I don't know anybody who hasn't suffered in being a human being.
And it's possible, I don't say that I know this for sure, depending on what a person's belief system is on why we're here and what this is all about. But is it as beautiful as this planet is, and as lovely, diverse, and wonderful opportunities, many pleasures can be found on this planet? You know, our existence here could be to suffer.
Or just to learn what it is to be not to be physical.
Yeah.
In the physical
And
form.
to be in physical, you are going to feel things. and not all things. So it's that diversity of feeling. It's to feel and experience contrast, to feel and experience contradiction.
And having gone through all the new age exploration I've done in 10 years time, because I'm marking about 10 years where I really got really deep into all kinds of new age ideas. And what I'm at this place now where I'm like, I mean, you name it, I've explored it. But what I'm seeing now is I'm kind of standing back and I'm seeing, it's like science versus faith. New age tells you about the science of everything, and faith, you can learn everything just by taking it on faith, and you wouldn't have to go down the science path. It's kind of like, but some people want to, go down the science path, and it's the same concept as the knowledge of what I'm finding. It's the same concept of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil and the tree of life. And you were presented with two trees. And what are we always going to go for? We're going to go for the knowledge of good and evil. We want to explore all those things, and we want to learn for ourselves. We don't want to just take God's word for it. Guess what? It could have been a shortcut.
Ego likes to know. Ego likes to feel, because ego thinks, and when I'm saying ego, I mean, I'm not anti-ego. Ego's serves a part, like ego is there for a purpose. But it's like humans, we think if we have all the knowledge, then we will be able to not cheat the tree of life, but it's like, oh, well, if I know
you don't have to trust God. If you know
if I
everything, you
know
don't.
everything, then I'll figure out what the tree of life has to offer. And the tree of life is saying, yeah, but you could just come partake of the tree of life, and then you don't have to worry about what you know and what you don't know.
It's so true. It is so true. And I'm standing back and I'm going, all that stuff I explored for 10 years is actually the mechanics of how God works. It is the mechanics of how God works. But guess what? You don't have to know all that for God to work. You don't have to do any of it for it to work. All you have to do is have faith. So it's not, but what I'm seeing now is that, but perhaps I needed to go through all of that.
I was gonna say, like, you're where you are because you went through it.
I know. Exactly. Because I wouldn't have been able to come out on the other side and say.
And I also want to say 10 years from now, you're probably going to be at another phase of something.
Exactly. Because we never stop growing.
But you still, it's like, though you can be given a field, plant seeds, water, and an instruction book, and you still till and bear fruit. Or you can do it through faith, and you still have to work though.
Oh,
I admire people.
The doing it through faith will be, you go just forage the food
It's
instead
a
of having to worry
short.
about.
Oh, there you go, Krista. Thank you.
But y'all,
better.
Faith versus farm.
Faith is the shortcut.
That's it, Krista. Great analogy. So yeah, you can grow your food, or you can just go forage it and have faith that when you wake up, when you go out there, you'll find something.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I'm just having a hope. So I might be wrong, but it seems like in our social studies classes, the advent of civilization was born from agriculture. Like
yeah, that's
two
what they
things
say.
yeah. So, but it's almost like, but in some ways it was our downfall, because then we became dependent on now we have to do it this way, and we lost that that faith and just that trust of things will provide. Now, I'm sure the process or the evolution into agriculture was encouraged because of calamities, natural disasters that happened,
And needing
famine,
slavery workforces
and
that you
And-
get fed
well, yeah,
to
that
build your
too.
big pyramids.
So
Yes.
You've got to have wheat.
sound technology that just moved the rocks.
Well, yeah, that too.
That too. But
Maybe faith was so great back then that you could move rocks with faith.
says that somewhere in the Bible, don't it? That
I don't know.
you can move it with the faith of a mustard seed. You can move a mountain, or am I making that up?
Oh,
From
you're Krista, you're right.
She's on it tonight. She's on it.
Preach it, girl. Preach it. I won't tell nobody you're a Christian. I'm just kidding.
I'm not anything. I'm all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm nothing and I'm everything. I pick what I'm eclectic.
Yeah. I feel like this today.
Yeah, I've
Oh,
said that
man.
many times. I wake up in the morning and go, "What am I going to believe today?"
Seriously. And you know what I'm thinking though? I know y'all can't see my face, and we're all a piece of mom. I've been sitting here thinking that from time to time. We're talking about Mother's Day,
And
We're
Daddy,
all-
Hey, we're talking about Mother's Day.
but we're focusing on Mother, and
Uh-huh.
we all have pieces of her. We're all a part of her. And when we come together, we're more parts of her, you know?
Yes.
Mhm.
And there is this feeling I'm beginning to have, and it's probably because I'm thousands and thousands of miles away from my family. But I am getting this awareness that, I mean, let's say I live to be 80 something. Let's just say I live that long. That's only 30 more years.
Oh.
That's only 30 more years. How am I going to spend it? And what if I don't have 30 years? What's important that I be doing right now? And I can't think of
Oh,
anything
here's what's
more.
even scarier. Here's what's even scarier. What if you had 50 more years?
Well, I mean, Granny kept wondering why she was still alive. I mean, that could happen to us too.
So the thing is, oh my gosh, if I got to be here 50 more years, like, let's make the best of it.
Well, what's important to you? What's important to me is, as the older I get, is the feeling of home, the feeling of family. And you know how Granny said she's just there for people? I kind of feel like that's going to be my job, just to be there, take on that role of, you know, we might have relatives from far away that want to come sometime. And maybe they'll come once. And I love when Uncle John came to visit that time.
Yeah.
Just go hang out in the graveyard. We have 5 or 6 generations of our family buried.
Mhm.
And maybe become a person that works with that. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just pray for people. You know, I'm not really sure that y'all, the old Jennifer always had a plan and had something set up when I got where I was going to go to my next place. And I don't have a plan. I don't know what I'm going to be doing for a plan. Not because I haven't applied for a job and I haven't got accepted. I haven't applied for a job because I don't want to decide right now. It's kind of like I'm kind of tired of, I mean, I might want to do something on my own, come up with something on my own.
Well, I mean, I'm amazed every day that I pay my bills.
I know, right?
I mean, it's a miracle.
So, it sounds sappy, but
You can do it too.
I mean, it's good to have goals. And of course, we live in this society where, like Emily said, we got to pay bills. We still got things to do. But just to be of service and love, that's purpose enough. And you don't even have to have that as a perfect purpose. Just being.
Well, girls, I just felt like that was just divine timing and us to get together to talk and I think as we might have mentioned earlier in podcasts that we maybe didn't really talk very much about mom, but I feel like just discussing it, that we've all been kind of separated by distance and we're about to all kind of come back together because I don't know if we've announced it, Jennifer. that
Yes,
you
I'm
are-
moving back to Louisiana.
Jennifer's moved back to Louisiana and we've all kind of been in our own walks of life. And this was a good, just to get together and, regroup as the
Regroup.
Yeah,
Regroup.
regroup as the three. So, well, I hope everybody has a great Mother's Day and,
Because I just
I'm
want to
the-
say there's that the power of three, the power of three, especially the power of three women. Mm.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
oh, that's right.
Yes.
Which one of us is which?
All right. All right. Well, y'all have a good evening.
Okay, love y'all.
Y'all too.